I'm with Fleur Hassan-Nahoum, the Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem. Now, Israel experienced a terrible terror attack on the 7th of October. How did you get to hear about it? What was unfolding? What were your thoughts?
So, unfortunately, I heard about it like probably most of the country with a siren at around 7:38 in the morning on what was supposed to be not just the Sabbath, but a Jewish holiday. And we ran to the shelter with my 4 kids. And, sirens happen, rarely in Jerusalem. But when there were 5 sirens in a row, I knew something terrible had happened. And so even though we're Sabbath observant, I switched on my phone and I switched on the telly. And essentially I saw what was happening, what was unfolding. I saw the massacre unfold in real time because people who had grown desperate of calling the army and the police that weren't coming called the TV and were giving live updates, real-time updates of terrorists being outside their houses, and they didn't know whether they were going to survive. And so once I was seeing this, I knew, something really horrible was afoot. And then the BBC started calling me up and blowing up my phone, and I thought to myself, well, why are the BBC calling me? And then I realized that they're obviously calling me because the army spokes are not responding, and the Prime Minister didn't have a foreign spokesperson on October 7th, unfortunately. And so, because a lot of the news networks know me from my work in Jerusalem and talking about Temple Mount and Sheikh Jarrah and all the things that happen here during the course of a year, they started calling me. And since then, I haven't stopped doing interviews about the conflict.
Wow, so you've been very, very busy with this.
Yes, it's been the majority of my time now. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Will this day go down in Jewish history?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, it's the biggest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. And I feel we're going through a mini Holocaust. Not the same. You can't compare the magnitude of the Holocaust, of course, which wiped out a third of our people. But it's the same, if not worse, in brutality.
And how does the war affect the people here in Jerusalem?
Well, we've become, ironically, a city of refuge for about 50,000 evacuees from the south, but mainly from the north of the country. And we've set up incredible infrastructure of social services for them, education for them, anything they need. They came and they ran here during the summer. Now it's winter. So there's a huge shop open, which they don't have to pay any money to. They need winter coats, they need nappies or diapers, whatever they need, clothes for their children, clothes for them. There's, food packages, there's entertainment, like I said, education, there's a lot of things. But still, people want to go home. It's not easy living in a hotel for 3 months. There's very little stability in that, and it's very, very difficult. So we're doing our best.
But they've been really, really well looked after.
Well, I think that we're looking after them well, yeah. I think that the mayor has been amazing. I think our civil society has proven. What I've always been saying is that Jerusalem has the strongest civil society in the country. Honestly, we've created a headquarters for all the civil society organizations. People are working together. People are worrying and taking care of everything you can possibly imagine. Not just for the evacuees, but for the families of the soldiers who are in the front lines and anything they may need for, wives at home with small children whose husbands are in Gaza, what they may need. And so, yeah, I'm very proud of what the city and the civil society leaders in the city have put together here. And we in the city have a great, great cooperation with them, because I've always believed that the best thing you can do is essentially have a combination of government and non-profits working towards the same goal.
Have people came together? Because before this attack, people were very divided with the judicial reform. There was protests on the street. Has the attitude and the mood changed?
We were bitterly, bitterly divided, and I think that's one of the reasons why the enemies smelt the opportunity to attack. I think it's one of the reasons. I'm not sure. It's not the only reason. They've been planning this for a while now, obviously. But why did they choose that moment? And I think they chose that moment because they saw a very divided society, and they erroneously believed that we would fall apart. And what they've done is the opposite. We've band together.
Have you been down to the south where this terrible attack took place? Have you seen the devastation that took place there?
I've been down a number of times. Yeah, I've seen the devastation. Each place has a different character of devastation. So Be'eri is completely destroyed. Kfar Aza, the houses seem to be in place, but, the blood-stained walls are very obvious. Places where entire families were burnt alive. Yeah, it's very daunting, but I'm glad I went down. It was very difficult. But I'm glad I went down to bear witness.
Did you hear terrible stories?
Very, very bad stories. Entire families being shot and burnt, people shooting children in front of the parents being shot in front of their children, women being raped in front of their husbands and mutilated, and children. It's impossible to really, I still can't get my head around how this happened and how we allowed this to happen.
Does the media understand that this is a different war? It's not fighting another nation, it's fighting a terror organization that doesn't obey the rules. Do the media understand that?
Not at all. The media are maybe they don't understand what a war actually looks like. Unfortunately, a war, there are innocent casualties, but the difference is that Israel is targeting terrorists, and the terrorists are hiding amongst the civilians. And so there's going to be, unfortunately, casualties, but the only people to blame for that is Hamas. And the other thing is, the media seem to have forgotten the 7th of October. They've moved on. We're on to the Israel attacking Hamas. Well, why are we attacking Hamas? We didn't start this. We didn't want this. In fact, we were giving them work permits so that they could have a better life in Gaza. And so I think that people and the media have very short memories, and all the anti-Israel and anti-Semites who are always there all along, this has empowered them to come out in great numbers.
Are you surprised to hear and to see about this anti-Semitism that's around at the moment, particularly in the colleges and the schools?
No, because it was always brewing. Academic leaders and professors have been selling their students a false narrative about the Middle East. They've been basically giving them false facts. They've been duping them about who's responsible for this conflict. And so, unfortunately, the result is an indoctrinated nation of people who believe that the world is a binary place of oppressor and oppressed, and because Jews are successful, or Jews built a wonderful country, by the way, by ourselves, somehow we can never be the people who are attacked or the victims of anything. Because what we did was, to be sympathized with, you have to fail. And that is kind of the scale. Their hierarchy of victimhood has Jews right at the bottom with the original sin of white privilege. Somehow now we're white, we're not indigenous, we're colonialists, and everything is false. We decolonized our ancestral homeland in 1948. We've been here many, many times as the leaders of this country through thousands of years, on and off. We are a people who were born in this country, we are from this country, and so to ignore 2,000 years of history or willfully lie about it is academic negligence and just lies.
And of course, if Israel go in and deal with Hamas, it's actually good for the Palestinians as well, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. The Palestinians, any of them who dare to speak out, will talk to you about a repressive regime. I mean, look, let's talk about the Christian community for a second, because I've been the focus of this for a while. When Israel left, well, first of all, let's look at the macro level. There used to be 20% of Christians in the Middle East. Today, there's 4%. Well, who's to blame for that? Islamic fundamentalism. And Christians have been pushed out of Lebanon, pushed out of most of the Arab world, as Jews did in 1948. So if anybody's doing the ethnic cleansing, is the Muslim countries in the Middle East, which are the majority of the countries. Nobody wants to talk about the Uyghurs being decapitated by the Islamic fundamentalists and every other place in the planet, including Egypt with the Coptics. Now, in Gaza, when Israel actually left 2005, there were 5,000 Christians, but out of about 1 million people, if not a little bit less, about 1 million people. Today, you say there's 800, I've heard there's only a few hundred, but let's say you're correct, there's 800 Christians, there's 2 million people. So imagine how the percentage has gone down. You live in Bethlehem. Bethlehem, before Israel left the Palestinian Authority to rule Bethlehem, there was about 80% Christians. Today there's about 10% Christians. Why are the Christians leaving when the Muslim fundamentalists take over? And it's very obvious because they don't really have freedom of worship, and they're not respected, and there's zero pluralism in these authorities.
We're always learning things, so were you surprised to learn that there actually is a Christian community in Gaza?
I thought that the churches were completely decommissioned and there was no active churches, and that they'd all left. So, okay, there's a few hundred. I'm very, I feel bad for them because I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they have any freedom of worship, and I think that they've been systematically cleansed, and that's why there's only so few left. So yes, I didn't really understand that there was an actual community there, so I was wrong about that. But I don't think this community is really allowed to practice as a community.
There are still hostages in Gaza. Can Israel secure their release, do you think?
Well, look, I think the first round gave us a little bit of hope because there were people that from day one, they're lost, they're never going to come out. And we managed to pull out 50. There's 140 left. We don't know how many of them are alive because the Red Cross has been completely useless in helping us attain proof of life. So I don't know. If we manage to get out another 50, 100, that would be a miracle, and I pray for that miracle every day.
Do you see posters about the hostages all over Jerusalem?
Yeah, posters everywhere, as there should be. We should always remember that this is our highest goal of the war right now, to get out the innocent people that we let down on that day. They should never have been kidnapped in the first place.
Do you have family that are in the army? And as a mother as well, how do you feel about knowing that the sons and daughters are going out to war?
So I've got my son in the army, but he's in an engineering position, so he's not in the front lines. He's not a combat soldier. But a lot of my friends' children are, and I feel sick for them every day. I'm very worried for these kids who have grown up around us, and I pray for their safety. And I pray for the end of this war, but we cannot end this war unless we dismantle Hamas, because they've said, not me, they've said that they're going to attack again and again, and this is just the dress rehearsal. And so Israel cannot live, no country in the world would live with a threat like that, and in fact it's the obligation of the country to defend its people and to eliminate the threat. And that's all Israel is doing, what any normal country in the world would do to protect its citizens.
What is your prayer for Israel at this time?
My prayer for Israel is that we bring back our hostages. My hope really is, firstly, that the hostages come home, all of them. Secondly, that we decisively destroy the enemy, which is just really a proxy of a larger enemy, which is Iran, which threatens the entire free world. And that people don't seem to understand that Iran is the Hitler of our day, and appeasing them is doing what Chamberlain did ahead of the Second World War.
Does Israel need to go into Iran?
I don't think Israel should go into Iran on its own, but I think the world should wake up and understand that eventually Iran is going to get to them too.
All these other organizations, Hamas, the Houthis and rockets that are coming from Iraq and Syria, this is all to do with Iran?
All of it is Iran. Iran is playing everybody like a ukulele here, not getting involved, but sending everybody else to do their dirty work. But it's their vision of bringing back the world 500 years and creating a global caliphate. That's their vision.
Does the West get it? Does the West understand?
Not at all. The West doesn't get it. They don't understand that it's not just Jews who are threatened or Israel, but it's their societies. And maybe they're beginning to understand when they see the fundamentalism growing in their midst. And when you see people attacking Christmas trees and Santa's grottos in Toronto and in London, and marching on Armistice Day and spitting on the memory of the Second World War veterans and heroes, maybe they'll start waking up soon.
Hamas want to wipe Israel off the map. Can you have peace with somebody like that?
Absolutely not. We need to find a new cadre of Palestinian leaderships who want peace, who understand Israel's not going away, and who stop selling the false dream to their people that one day Israel's going to disappear, because that's what they've been telling their people for 100 years.
Okay, Fleur, hassan-nahoum, Deputy Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you.